Since the beginning of time, man has looked at the sky and admired the birds soaring through it. Many great inventors, like Leonardo da Vinci, made drawings and attempts to build machines that could emulate the bird's gift of flight. None were as successful as the Wright brothers, though. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen and heard the stories of Da Vinci. He made all kinds of crazy advancements and some really cool drawings, but like I said, nobody ever actually got powered flight up until the Wright brothers. On December 17, 1903, Orville Wright piloted the first powered airplane 20 feet above a windswept beach in North Carolina. The flight lasted 12 seconds and covered 120 feet. 3 more flights were made that day, with Wilbur flying a glider in the earlier test. So they basically took their glider idea and tried to build a motor that would be light enough and powerful enough to propel their glider. This was done in Kitty Hawk, October 10th, 1902. Orville's brother Wilbur piloting the record flight lasting 59 seconds over a distance of 852 feet. Today's terms, it doesn't sound like much, and just to put that into perspective, the distance covered by the Wrights' first flight was less than the wingspan of today's 747 jumbo jet. So back then, it was a big deal, but if you look at it today, it's just as big as a plane that pretty much all of us have flown on. The Wright brothers were from Dayton, Ohio, and I'm actually from Dayton, Ohio, so I got to see a little town and a little house they were born. They made it into a museum and everything, and it was pretty cool. They were bike builders. The first thing they built to test flight, and because it was more of like a hobby for them to start with, was a glider. October 10th, 1902, they tested at Kitty Hawk with that glider. That was almost a whole year prior. They made over 700 successful flights with the glider. So they got a little taste of the flying, and they kind of just ran with it from there with their idea based off of all the other inventors before them. They took the ideas that they had that failed and the ideas that worked and incorporated them into getting the lift to get their propelled airplane off the ground. Why Kitty Hawk, North Carolina? The biggest reason was the constant winds created from the ocean and just the way all the hills are and the dunes. There's a whole lot of wind, and everybody knows that wind or air passing over the wings is what makes the lift. So that's why the glider was so successful. They had several flights in the glider that went between 500 to 1,000 feet, and they always got a start on like a little roller coaster wheel, and it kind of cranked faster and faster, and they pulled it with a truck, and it kind of slingshotted it off. So they used that same theory when testing their powered aircraft. The morning of the flight, the winds were 20 to 25 mile an hour. And actually, that's what the newspapers published, but they actually found out that by a government station there, that it was closer to 27 to 30. So it was a perfect day for flying. The winds were blowing just slightly northerly, so they lined up with the truck and tied the rope to it. Orville got onto the little aircraft. He laid down on it, and you had a stick to control it, and the stick broke during flight the first time, it broke during flight the second time, it broke in the third time, but at least it had some kind of control. So they fired up the engines, had the propellers going, took the truck down, and slingshotted the airplane off, and it made its world-famous flight. After 3 attempts made, each one increasingly more successful than the last, the Wright brothers had changed the course of history. Powered flight was now a reality, and the world would become smaller due to air travel. Their little tiny flight was so significant to the way we all live today. If they would have never got off the ground, who knows? They were in competition with a couple other guys, but if they wouldn't have done it, the whole design of airplanes could have been different for a long time, and it's just such a significant event, and most people don't really think about it, but it was one of those things that the ripple effect was just humongous. It changed everything from the way people lived to the way wars are fought, everything. That's pretty much all I have. Thank you for your time.